Disclaimer: the following narrative is based on open source reports and public claims.
What really happened in the skies above Tel Aviv that night? Air raid sirens suddenly began echoing across the entire city. People rushed toward bomb shelters. Others ran into reinforced safe rooms inside their apartment buildings. Streets that had been busy just minutes earlier suddenly turned chaotic. Then lights began moving across the night sky. Seconds later, the first explosion was heard. The shockwave could be felt blocks away from the impact. Not long after that, reports started coming in. Several missiles had struck areas around the city. Buildings were damaged, vehicles caught fire, and most alarming of all, the number of casualties was reportedly continuing to rise. Now the big question is this: who is behind this attack? And could this be the beginning of a much larger escalation in the Middle East? The missile attack on Tel Aviv happened late at night, when most residents were already inside their homes. The calm atmosphere of the city changed in a matter of minutes when the air defense alert system across Israel was suddenly activated. Sirens sounded across multiple districts, warning residents that incoming missiles were likely headed toward the city. People who were familiar with emergency procedures immediately began searching for shelter. Many headed to underground bunkers, while others moved into reinforced safe rooms, commonly found in residential buildings. Shortly after the sirens began, flashes of light appeared across the sky. Several residents reported seeing explosions in the air, a sign that Israel's air defense systems were already trying to intercept the incoming missiles. But not every missile was stopped. Some were reportedly able to reach the ground and detonated in different areas of the city. As the attack unfolded, Israel's air defense network was immediately activated. One of the key systems used that night was the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome was designed to detect rockets and missiles headed toward Israeli territory and intercept them before they reach populated areas. The system has been used in numerous conflicts over the past decade and is widely known for its high interception success rate. When radar detects a rocket or missile launch, the system quickly calculates its trajectory. If the projectile is expected to hit a populated area, an interceptor missile is launched to destroy it in midair. That night, several incoming missiles were successfully intercepted. Bright flashes from explosions in the sky could be seen from different parts of the city. However, early reports suggested that the number of incoming projectiles was relatively large, and many were launched within a short time frame. In situations like this, air defense systems can face enormous pressure because they must track and intercept multiple targets simultaneously. This type of attack is often referred to as a saturation attack, where a large number of projectiles are launched at once in order to overwhelm air defense systems. When several missiles managed to slip past the air defenses, the consequences were immediately felt across parts of Tel Aviv. Powerful explosions shook multiple districts of the city. The shockwaves shattered windows and scattered glass across nearby streets. Some apartment buildings sustained structural damage. Vehicles parked near the blast sites were heavily damaged, and in some cases caught fire. Shortly after the explosions, ambulance sirens began echoing through the streets. Emergency response teams were quickly dispatched to the impacted areas. Firefighters worked to extinguish fires that broke out in several buildings, while rescue teams began evacuating victims from the blast zones. Reports of casualties began to emerge shortly after the attack. Several victims were found at the explosion sites, while many others suffered injuries caused by flying debris, shattered glass, and collapsing structures. But the numbers didn't stop there. As rescue teams continued searching damaged buildings and clearing debris, additional victims were discovered. Inside hospitals across the Tel Aviv area, emergency rooms quickly became overwhelmed with injured civilians. Doctors and nurses worked around the clock, treating victims as ambulances continued arriving one after another. Some hospitals reportedly entered full emergency mode as the number of casualties kept rising. As the situation became clearer, analysts and security experts began asking the same question: who launched the missiles? Some analysts quickly linked the attack to rising regional tensions involving Iran. Relations between Iran and Israel have been tense for years. The two countries have been involved in what many experts describe as a shadow war. This ongoing conflict has included covert operations, cyber attacks, intelligence operations, and indirect military confrontations through allied groups across the Middle East. Because of that long history of tension, many observers believe the missile attack could be connected to a broader regional conflict dynamic. However, as of now, no fully verified claim of responsibility has been confirmed. An attack on a major city like Tel Aviv almost always raises the risk of military escalation. Israeli leaders quickly convened emergency meetings to assess the situation and determine the next course of action. In past conflicts, attacks on Israeli territory have often been followed by retaliatory military operations. If Israel chooses to launch a response against whoever is responsible for the missile strike, the situation could escalate rapidly. And when tensions rise in the Middle East, the consequences rarely stay confined to a single country. Tensions in the Middle East are always closely watched by the international community. The region plays a critical role in global energy supplies and international trade routes. Any major military escalation could affect not only regional stability, but also the global economy. For that reason, several countries and international organizations have already called for restraint from all sides involved. Their concern is that further escalation could trigger a much wider conflict. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, search and rescue operations are still ongoing. Emergency crews continue working at several impact sites, making sure no victims remain trapped beneath the rubble. The casualty numbers may still change as the situation develops. For the people living in the city, the events of that night are a stark reminder that tensions in the Middle East remain far from resolved. And now the world is watching closely. Will this attack end here, or could it be the beginning of a much larger escalation?